mind, we'll come up here so that the video can work. We both have our little new speakers on, so we'll see how all this is going to work. We're trying to grow a little bit and see, see how we can communicate. And part of it was to be responsive to like Shirley, who can't be here because she's up north, for Sydney, who couldn't be here because she was up north. So how could I still connect with those who are up north? And so this was our way of saying, how can we connect to those? I have had the big fortune of visiting with Amy at the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center, and it's so amazing, which I'm impressed anyway, just in words. But when you go there and you actually see what they're doing and the energy that they hold and the things that they do, I just had no clue and I had no idea. So I'm very fortunate, we are, that she's here to tell us a little bit more about it. The center was a grant recipient as well, so we were able to donate a little bit of money to them from the Kentucky Derby event. So here she is to tell us what she does.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have about 15 minutes to speak to you, and I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. I try to talk a little loud because of the nature of my job. But I want to talk to you really quick. So my name is Amy Turner. I'm the executive director at the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center. Before I worked at the Deaf Center for the last 4 years, I worked at the Blind Center for 4 years. So I have this unique background where it's the different disability, but it gave me some eye-opening insights. So just to share with you a little bit, if a person who is blind walked in through this door right now, they could sit right at this chair and they could talk across and ask a question. They could raise their hand and say, "Can you tell me a little bit more about your Kentucky Derby event that you have coming up?" If a deaf woman walked in, she would be isolated. She would not be able to participate unless, raise your hand if anybody here knows sign language. Always, always, this is always how it is. So I want you to imagine they're completely isolated. The barrier that they would already feel. They don't have a club like this to participate in. And to me, that was something that I'd never experienced before. And I'm going to share with you a couple stories and why our center is important. Before I worked at the Deaf Center, I had never met a deaf person. I had no connection to deafness. So it was all new to me, and all these things that I've learned, I'm just in shock. But I want to show you why we didn't know. And when I say we, I mean everyone in this room, including me, we hearing people we didn't realize. So let me ask you a question. Has anybody here, I love the travel comment, it was perfect. Has anybody here traveled to another country? Raise your hand if you have. Perfect. I bet that some of you at some moment during your trip got lost, didn't know where you're going to go, had a map on you with your significant other, and honey, what are we going to do? We don't know where we're going. And you locked eyes with the first person you could see, and you walked over to them and you said, "Do you speak English?" And they said to you in broken English, "Just a little bit." And at that moment, the way you felt was like this: everything's going to be okay. Your heart was warmed, and you felt like, whatever it is, we're going to get through this. That's the way a deaf person feels when you know just a little bit of sign language. I'm telling you, when you say hello, everybody in here, we all say, "Hi, how are you doing?" In sign language, when you say hello like this, it's almost like a salute. Just do it with me, just once. Everybody do it, just once. If you were sitting at a restaurant and there was a deaf family over here and they were signing in ASL, and you sat down and went like this, "Hi," they would look at you and say, "Do you know how to sign?" And they would try to sign with you because this is hello in ASL. Very important that we understand that. This year's Super Bowl, everybody watches the Super Bowl. This year's Super Bowl, they had an interpreter. The deaf people were so excited that they had this interpreter. And what happened was they the camera was on the interpreter. And after 2 seconds during the national anthem, when the person started singing, the camera shot moved and the interpreter's now out of the shot. And deaf people were extremely disappointed. Same thing with the halftime show. The interpreter is right there after the deaf people were excited and out of the shot. Now, this is not a nice way to say this, but they will live. They'll be disappointed, but they'll live through it. I want you to imagine now, I want you to think back 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, Hurricane Ian. County commissioners, they're all lined up there. They're all lined up on the stage with emergency operations. You have the sheriff right there, and right on the right side is the interpreter. Well, when somebody started to speak at the podium, same thing. Yeah. The interpreter was not in the shot. And the information that was being given is Zone A, it's mandatory evacuation. This is the big one. This is the one that's going to cause storm surge, that's going to kill people. You must leave. Now we have a problem because you have an entire group, an entire population here in Lee County that didn't get that message. It's extremely important that sign language and interpreters are part of deaf life. I wanted to share with you another story. There was a lady in my work. About 6 months ago, she popped her head into my office and she signed to me, "Hey, I'm really hungry. Do you want anything at Panera?" And I signed back, "Yeah, you know what? Get me a grilled cheese sandwich and a tomato soup." So she went to Panera. It's right across the street. But 30 minutes later, she's still not back. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So she finally shows up about 30 minutes. I'm like, "Where were you? Why did it take you so long?" And she said, "Amy, I'm deaf." Okay, so now I'm thinking, what did I miss? She said, "I'm deaf." And I said, "You just go right through the drive-through. It takes 5 seconds. You come right back." She said, "I can't go to a drive-through. I'm deaf." Right. And I sat there right at the moment with my head like this, and I was not thinking about the time it took. I was not thinking about the time it just took her. I was thinking about how many times in the last 3 years I've gone through Starbucks because it was raining. I was thinking about how many times I went through a McDonald's drive-through with my children when they were little. Hundreds. So I ask you, is it Panera's fault? Is it the hearing people who designed Panera? Is it their fault that they created this barrier for deaf people? Should we hate the people that designed Panera? No, we shouldn't. But we are here today as women, and we're learning about an entire population of people that are called our fellow American citizens. They're not asking for things in another language. They're asking to be able to participate in life the same way a hearing person would. And that's why the accommodations that they ask for in the form of an interpreter they fall under the Americans for Disability Act. So we're learning these things today as women, like, what can we do? Well, I would also probably imagine that many women here maybe have faced a divorce. I did a few years ago. Devastating, unimaginable grief. I imagine that some people in this room may have even experienced domestic violence. I don't know if you've shared it with each other, but you're able to walk into a church. At any moment, you could pull into a church this morning and walk in and say, "I need help. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need some help." You can say those words and somebody will say to you, "Sit down right here, honey. We're going to find somebody to pray with you and talk with you. You sit right here." A deaf person cannot do that. They don't have an interpreter built in, and nobody knows sign language. There are barriers everywhere they turn. I had no idea any of these things exist. As a hearing person, I didn't know. But now I do, because I'm experiencing them firsthand. I am watching women walk into our agency and hearing story after story. So I am here to tell you firsthand, thank you. You are an incredible group of women, and the changes and the impact that your gift, which by the way was not just a little, it was way more than we were expecting, and we are extremely grateful because the impact that you have made with these women is life-changing. I brought up notes so I don't forget anything, but I want to share with you something. So because of you, we have a monthly support group where these women can come and share stories that they're going through. So we have a young lady who has been isolated and shared her story with some older women that were at the group. And she was in shock because they'd all gone through it. And they were able to mentor her. They were able to empower her. They were able to say in sign language, honey, you don't need to take that. You go back and you tell him you're not going to put up with that. They were able to empower her, give her the confidence that she needed to be able to make decisions. And it's because of you guys and the things that you're doing that you shared this with our agency that is able to provide these services. If you look at a map of the state of Florida, from Tampa to Miami, there's no other deaf center. So we have a huge territory to cover, and we're extremely lucky that we're in Fort Myers and we're able to serve these women in Lee County. So again, thank you for providing that local support. We're very, very grateful. I wanted to tell you that you are in the right place tonight by hearing these stories and by knowing that you've made such a difference. And if you are not a part of this group, I want you to realize what you have in front of you is support, you have friendships, you have an impactful way to make a difference. So again, I am so grateful to be able to talk to you. And before I leave, if you'll give me just 3 more minutes. Okay. Okay. Then maybe I'll take 5. All right. So when you leave here tonight, in 5 minutes, I would like to teach you how to sign hello, how are you, I'm fine, nice to meet you, what is your name? My name is. Let's do it. You do know something. Okay. If you do it with me, it'll take 5 minutes, no more. So let's start. You gotta join in. Hello, the salute, remember? Hello. Now we're gonna say, how are you? Put your hands together, put them in your chest and fold them out. How? Okay, let me tell you something really fast. In English, we say, I am going to the store. In sign language, they sign visually, store, me, go. All the other little words are taken out. That's why when people say, well, can't they just read the closed captioning across the TV? No, they don't know English. They don't know English. There is no English. It's only words. So let's do it again. Hello. Put your fingers together and go, how you. So that's how we say, how are you? We say, how you. The answer is, put your hand like this, put it right in your chest and say, I'm fine. I'm fine. Some people like to say, I'm good. So you put your hand on your chin, not under, we don't do that, on your chin and put your hand out and say, good. So I'm fine or I'm good. This is how to say bad. So you can see how good, bad. Okay, so let's do it. Hello? How are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Now we're going to say, what's your name? You're going to say your, put your 2 fingers together and on top, like you're almost like you're cutting. Name, your name, like this. Your name, and you're going to lean forward and go, what? Like this. Yes, just like that. That's not, they know you're asking a question when you go, what? Like this. Because it's the only way to make an expression, so they understand your tone of voice. Your name, what? My name, And then you're going to open your brochure in front of you. And here's the alphabet. This is what you're going to practice. Stick it in your bathroom. Read it when you're sitting there. Put it in your car. Read it when you have a second, when you're stopped at a light. Practice. Practice signing when you're up and you're stopped at a red light. Sign the street light, the street name that you're right there. It gives a great way to do it. Practice. So let's try it again. My name, and then you're going to finger spell your name with the alphabet. My name is A-M-Y. So if you know your name, learn this. It's very important. In fact, some people may ask right here, they say, what if I don't know sign language? Can I just finger spell everything? Like, how are you? My name? And the answer is yes. Because do you remember that question? Do you speak English? Just a little bit? That's the word yes. If you finger spell it, they're going to love you. They're going to go, oh, I'll wait. Just spell it all. Just, yes, talk to me. Because imagine being in a life where you don't ever communicate with anyone. That's why when they get around deaf people, each other, they love it because they can communicate. Let's try from the beginning. Hello. How are you? I'm fine. Open your hands. Oh, fine. I'm good. Your name is what? My name is, and then you're going to finger spell your own name. Now we're going to say nice to meet you. Put your hand out, either left or right, and you're going to wipe your hand. This is the word nice. It's also the same word as clean. Nice. Nice. Now you're going to put your knuckles together, straight up and down, meet. And let me see. Very good. Some people, yes. Some people usually always right here are like this. Don't do this. This means nice to kiss you or nice to date you. We don't want to do that. We want to say nice to meet, straight up and down, you. Okay, let's do the whole thing all the way through once. Ready? Hello. How are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Your name is what? My name, and then finger spell your name. Nice to meet you. If you do this with deaf people, they will love you. It will change their life. It will warm their heart. I want you to leave you with one last thing. If anybody here celebrated a birthday at any time in their life at a restaurant or an anniversary with somebody, you walk into the restaurant with your family or with your significant other, and the person welcoming you says, well, Sharon, it's the Sharon. What's your last name, Sharon?
Jasky.
Jasky. Well, Jasky family, welcome to Shoeless Joe's. Is that the name of this place? Okay. Welcome to Shoeless Joe's. We're so happy to have you. We're here. You're celebrating an anniversary tonight. Why don't you come with me? I have the menus and your table is right here. Welcome. And your server will be by in a second. I want you to think about how happy you are. Imagine if you were the same scenario, but you're deaf and you're signing, and you walk in and clearly they're deaf, and the hostess says, I don't want to help them, you help them, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. Right. And how you would feel if they said, and they came over here and they sat down and sat with the menus. It would change the whole feel of your anniversary or your birthday. So I want you to just take that scenario and imagine how you'd feel getting a cancer diagnosis from a doctor. Feel sitting there with a financial planner, sitting there with a mammogram. It's very important, the services we are providing, because we are providing interpreters, classes, anything for deaf and hard of hearing. I could go on all night, but I am done. But I really want to reiterate again, thank you on behalf of the entire deaf community, and especially the Deaf Women's Support Group. You have made a huge difference because allowing us to be able to do what we do with the funds that you've provided. So thank you. We're so grateful.
Are you okay?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Of course. Yes. Yes. Oh, so with your hand out, this was good. This is thank you. And if you really want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just keep it on top of the chin. Remember, thank you. Yes. Well, like I said before, I worked at the Lighthouse for the Blind, and I loved my job, but it was it was time to make a change. They had a new director, a lot of changes were happening, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I really didn't know what I was going to do, and I ended up going out with a friend. We were sitting at a table having dinner, and she was the director of the Deaf Center. And she said to me that she's going to be thinking about leaving. And I'm like, oh, where are you going to go? And she went like this, oh, you should apply. I'm like, I don't know anything about deaf people. But she said that I had experience with disabilities and the structure of the nonprofit is very similar. So that's how I got started. And it was very hard at first because there is a lot of cultural things with deaf individuals, culturally speaking. I had to learn sign language, and it's hard. It's so hard to learn another language to get fluent in it. But now that you do know it, it's so fun to sign with somebody across the room and only you know what you're saying. It's fun. It's really fun. I've taught my husband, but I had to start with all of the terrible bad words to make him go, this is really fun. But it's been fun. I'm still learning every day, but I've been there 4 years. Well, like I said, I have still so much more to learn, but to be able to, I mean, I can talk to a deaf person if they came in. I'd be able to help them if something is wrong. I would be able to interpret for a fire, if there was an emergency. Basic, just basic. Yes.
Do you know if they're making any kind of like phone keyboard with this on it, where they could communicate, or like a Google Translate, where a keyboard could do that?
That is a great question. And if you look on Google Translate, they translate. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, are there any keyboards with those signs on the keyboard itself? So the answer to that question right now, if you look on Google Translate, it translates 95 languages, none in sign language, because it's not English. See, we are thinking like a hearing person to go from English to sign language, but no, because then a deaf person, it's sign language is visual. It's all visual. They say visual things with, shirt, dress, all those words like therefore, subsequently that we use. They don't have those words. They're not those words in ASL. So no, they do not have that. But there are some apps that are being developed. But what happens with sign language, your facial expressions is explaining how you're feeling. So if I can say the word no, I can say no, no, and you can see that. And if I told my son no, no, you can hear it in my voice. But a deaf person, they rely on facial expressions, which cannot be captured in a letter. Yes.
I had a side job where I guess they have special phones that they give them, and so we would sit and listen to their conversations and type out exactly what they're saying, and so that they can have a conversation. It was it was it it was like this warm feeling because it's like you're allowing someone to be able to conversate.
Now,
are you those conversations?
Are
you? I
you?
don't think I need to be here, but
So let me make sure I understand. So you're saying that you used to be part of was it interpreting, or was
Yeah,
it for hard of hearing?
hard of hearing. It was just
Okay.
a little side job that I had, and so we would sit and listen, and then like type.
Yes, yes. So there's the deaf and hard of hearing center. So there's a deaf individual side and a hard of hearing. Everything hard of hearing. People grew up hearing. It's a lot of senior related hearing loss, so we help with that and provide caption phones, or a service that what you're talking about is where a hard of hearing person would have access to somebody where they're using a caption phone and then you type back. Yeah, it's different than deaf, but there is those things for hard of hearing.
So hard of hearing is where the caption, like, the words on the TV are gonna work for somebody.
Yes,
Previous.
absolutely. Yeah, so if they grew up hearing, a closed captioning is what they would be able to read. In fact, I put them on now all the time. I'm finding myself. Yes.
So I'm a disabled veteran, and I notice things when I travel to other countries. One of the best things that I've noticed is in Costa Rica, playground where they have the alphabet. But on the other side of the alphabet, they have the sign alphabet from the ASL. But what do we have exposed to ASL? I learned it in second grade. It's the only reason I remember the alphabet.
That's a great question. So I want to so she had mentioned that in another country, they had access to sign language alphabet, which sign language is not universal. So sometimes people ask that. So in England, where they speak English, it's completely different sign language than American Sign Language. It's also Mexican Sign Language is different than Colombian Sign Language, which is different than Venezuelan, which is different than any other Latin country. They're all different. So when we have foreigners come to our center, everybody learns American Sign Language. And then the second point you brought up was about what are we doing here as a country with youth to help expose them to ASL. You were very lucky in your school district who recognized that, because what happens with children who are hearing and deaf, how many times have you, think about this, even if you have children or you remember when you were a child, there was a moment where you were talking to somebody and out of the corner of your eye, you could hear what's going on and you can say, hey, how come you took my stuff out of my room? I see or heard what you're doing. Because hearing, you have that back and forth banter that is helping develop your actual development. So what happens when people don't have language, they're language deprived. So it's not an intellectual disability, it's that they were deprived of language, and now the divide looks like this with children, with deaf children. So we have a deaf mentor who goes into the schools and helps to provide empowerment and confidence and letting them know that deaf individuals, that they can have great jobs and great lives, but they're not going to hear. So what are we doing about it? We're learning one step at a time. So we have these trainings. We call them lunch and learns. We go in and out in 1 hour, and we get more into depth of stories and things like that. We do the exact same silent, but we teach a little more sign language. We also tailor it to that exact business. So when we go to the sheriffs, we teach them how to say, you're under arrest, step out of the car. We teach them, don't shine your flashlight in their eyes. They're holding this. They can't see you. They can't hear you. You're telling them to step out of the car. What should they do? So we're training sheriffs. Fire department, we're training. Are you okay? Can you stand? Okay, sit down. Okay, lie down. Can you write? We teach them, do you need help? We're teaching firemen and first responders how to do that. But we also are teaching theaters how to say, welcome to Naples Theater. Welcome to Florida Rep. Can I scan your ticket? Come with me and let me show you your seats. So we're helping all of these different businesses to provide equal communication accessibility for all. So if you know anybody, an HOA or a business, it's totally free, and we provide lunch. So it's a win-win. And it's something, if you know anybody that would want something like this service, we would provide that. And that's how we'll help one business at a time, one woman at a time, one step at a time. Yes.
I'm an avid reader, and it sounds like maybe that would be something that a deaf person doesn't get to do. It's not because of language.
You're absolute. Deaf people don't read unless they were exposed to English. Then it's the difference between being able to do a job that requires reading and computers, or a job that let me be a sorter at Amazon. It really does help determine what you'll be able to do as a job. Any other questions? Yes.
On your question, I moved here from Denver, and the playground there had that. On one side, it was baby field. They were so small, like 2 and 3 years old. It was just fun, didn't make it all. So they did learn, and my granddaughter in high school there, they considered that a foreign language, and that's what she chose as her foreign language.
In Wyoming, so there must be.
Well, my daughter went to Cypress Lake and she did ASL all 4 years. She did it online. It wasn't the same. She got credit for it, but she had to do it on her own.
And she did it for 4 years? Did she want to become an interpreter?
No, she just wanted to be.
Okay. Well, kudos to her.
I know, she's pretty cool.
Yes.
How about the school systems here? I know, my mother would be 100 and some years old now, but she went back to get a master's in special ed, which didn't exist when she went to college, special ed. But she learned and was fluent in sign language because she thought it would help her with special needs children, even the intellectually. At least they could do, and I've noticed young mothers are teaching small children sign language now before they're really that verbal.
That's true. And babies can learn how to say more at 6 months. Right. Milk, more milk. Right. So that's something that is happening. And you were talking, one of the things that our agency has started is sign language for nonverbal, because as I'm sure many of you might have heard, 1 in 33 children were just announced by the CDC that they're being diagnosed with some form of autism. So we're offering sign language for nonverbal individuals on the spectrum of autism. So it's teaching sign language at a slower pace, but teaching sign language to the whole family so that they can learn that and to be able to just express themselves and help them to learn that.
I was just wondering about our school system.
So our
Collier and Lee, are they doing anything like that?
So Collier school system is a little different. They have what are called cluster schools. So if you're deaf, you're sent to this cluster area, and they're doing a fabulous job. There are 99 deaf children in Collier. There are 59 in Lee County. In Lee County, what they do with deaf children, they send them to an elementary school for the deaf program, a middle school, one school with the deaf program, and a high school. And they don't go to these classes all day. They only go to them for a couple hours a day. And the rest of the time, they are mainstreamed into the school system, and they're sent with an interpreter to go around sporadically. Yes. So, yes. So, but the deaf programs that they have there's a deaf teacher a teacher of the deaf who can sign, and they have interpreters at the deaf program, but it's not enough during the day. So we have an after-school program where we have a van that was donated to us, and we take our little van and we go to the schools and we pick up these deaf children and we bring them back to our after-school program where we can work on all those other things that they may not learn at school that they need to know to be successful, like independent living skills, activities of daily living, hygiene. They're very important things. I mean, everybody in this room knows we're not supposed to, let's say, burp out loud. But a deaf person, they wouldn't be able to hear themselves. So we work with the schools and we help with homework, but we also help with lots of other skills. Anybody ever teach somebody, their daughter or their son, how to drive? Can you imagine doing it without saying, no, 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 no. Turn right, brake, 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 right. We teach driver's license classes in sign language. It's a very important service. Like I said, between Tampa and Miami, if you give birth to a deaf child, where will you go? So we are very unique is that we are the only place providing these services. Yes?
Can you help us understand how you're staffed and if you feel comfortable talking about where your funding comes from? You all do
Absolutely.
an amazing
Love to. Love to. So let me explain to you by starting out at the Lighthouse for the Blind. So the way that they get funded is the Department of Education, the dollars flow down to the Division of Blind Services. And if, when a person walks into the lighthouse and they say, hi there, my eye doctor says I'm going blind and they cannot help me with glasses or surgery. So they said, why don't you go visit the folks at the lighthouse? So they walk in the door and they bring their eye report showing that they qualify, and the lighthouse sends it to the Division of Blind Services, who says, yep, they qualify. We will pay for those hours of services that it's going to take for you, Lighthouse, to teach someone who's blind how to walk with a white cane, how to get around, how to cook again. Want to learn how to cook when you're blind? Takes a long time to learn so you don't burn your hands. And those hours are paid for. So we get over to the Deaf Center, first day, okay, we're going to hit the ground running. Where's the Division of Deaf Services? There isn't one. It does not exist in the state of Florida. There is no Division of Deaf Services. There is no funding. There is no funding for any deaf children. Nothing. So the question is, well, who pays for the interpreters at the school? The school district, but is there enough for every child? No. Who pays for the interpreters when a deaf person needs something? Who pays for the services? I mean, these are real people. So did anybody ever experience a loss from Hurricane Ian where you had to file a claim with FEMA? Can you just raise your hand if you had any interaction with FEMA? Now, I want you to imagine doing it deaf. You cannot talk. You cannot understand what the person is saying. You gotta have an interpreter. You gotta call somebody. Somebody has to step in and provide the interpreter for, again, our fellow American citizens. And I'm telling you that, and I keep saying it like that because they are. And we are now learning about it. So when you hear about funding that's being cut to places that provide funding for places with disabilities, what do you want them to do? Because I'm telling you, if we were all sitting here right now on a street corner and a person in a wheelchair was right there and they were struggling to get up that curb, we would get up and go, oh my gosh, let me help you. Oh my gosh, let me help you up this curb. We wouldn't sit here and watch. We'd help them. And if some of us are older people, my age and older, may think, well, they just maybe didn't have that curb. I remember when they didn't have those dips in the curbs. But younger people are going to say, hey, where's the dip in the curb? That's supposed to be there. You know what? I'm going to call my city hall, and they need to put a dip in the curb. They're going to be proactive. You know why? Because we can see that. But you didn't know that deaf people couldn't see the interpreter at the Super Bowl. Well, let's not worry about the Super Bowl. How about during a hurricane? My personal aha moment was when I came back from Hurricane Ian, and the first thing I did with my family, I'm at home, our house was okay. I grabbed my boombox radio from the closet, put the batteries in, turned it on, and there was the guy from NBC2 saying, okay, here's where you can find a food pantry, and here's the boil water notices in these neighborhoods. And I immediately said, that's our neighborhood. Honey, don't drink the water. You guys don't drink the water. Only because I work for a deaf center did I stop and say, oh my goodness, what would a deaf person do? What would a deaf person do? They would drink the water. Their whole family would drink the water. This is not fair. We have to do something. So it's important. It's important. And I don't want to leave on a desperate note, but I want to leave you with feeling there's more to be done. There's more to be done. There's more to be done for deaf children. There's more to be done for deaf women. There's more to be done for deaf citizens, deaf seniors that are isolated, sitting in a nursing home. In a nursing home. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. How are you feeling today? Hello, Mrs. Taylor. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Deaf person. Can't sign, don't know what to say. Not good. So we have a deaf senior companion program where we send people that know sign language to senior citizens home where we know there's a deaf person just to sit and talk with them, just to say, how are you feeling? You want to play cards? Are you hungry? You know, something like that.
But how many staff members?
We have 6 staff members to handle it. Yes, we operate on a budget of $399,000. We get a quarter of our funding comes from interpreting services that we provide, that we work with a pool of interpreters and we send them out on jobs and we collect money and then it's like a fee for service. We make a sliver of our money from sign language classes that we teach. We make a small portion of our money comes from fundraising and all the rest comes from grants because there is no federal or state funding for deaf services.
And if somebody, I'm just curious, and I don't want to try to, this is controversial sometimes, but if somebody has a cochlear implant, can they be part of that hard of hearing, or do they?
So great question. So you know what? That is a question that, let me try to answer it. So a cochlear implant, for people that don't know, they drill a hole in your head and they insert a magnet that shortens the root. It takes the sound directly past the nerve. It goes all the way to your brain so your brain can register sound. If you grew up and you've already had hearing, you might be a great candidate for that. If you were born deaf and you've never heard sound, you would grow up and do sign language.
Well,
Right.
I happen to know someone, and her mom, she went to do the sign language classes there, but her child is a 3-year-old that has I was just curious, has the cochlear, and it's
Right.
in public school, but then
It's extremely controversial and the reason why is because hearing people, we may say, oh my gosh, you don't want to lose your hearing, do anything to save it. But a deaf person will believe and feel that I have a wonderful life and I identify as deaf.
they're doing both.
Right. So we provide support groups for both and family classes, and we teach entire families sign language for free.
You know that Helen Keller was asked what sense would she, if she could pick one that she could have back. I was surprised. She said hearing. That's what she chose, not vision.
But do you know why? Do you know why? Because blindness separates you from things. I can't see this. I don't know where I am. I can't touch these things. But deafness separates you from people.
She said she wanted to hear a loving voice.
Yes.
An orchestra. I mean, that's so to her, having never had either one, that's what she chose. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yes. And that's why.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I am so thankful for being able to reach you and talk to you, and thank you for listening. I'm so happy that I was able to share this. And again, if you can please remember the sign language we learned tonight and use it the next time you might meet a deaf person. Again, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just hug you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Unless anybody's got any other comments or anything you want to say, we can say the meeting's adjourned.
Oh, God,